DLCs. Who doesn't like DLCs? Expansions meant to add to an already existing experience and make it even better. It's like my great-grandpa always said, "Thou goodeth DLC shall engoodeth thy game." And while the idea of what a proper DLC should even be has been muddled quite a lot over the years, there are still countless good examples of good DLCs expanding upon games both in terms of narratives and replayability. One such franchise known for its DLCs is of course Fallout, with a rich history of amazing DLCs that each enrich their respective games in their own unique way. A prime example of which is of course Dead Money, a DLC that still riles up actual warfare among fans to this day who cannot decide whether to make love with it or stake it on a cross. I personally of course think a lot of these criticisms are a bit unfair and misguided. So today I will tell you why I think Dead Money is really good and touch upon most of those common criticisms against it. Disclaimer, these are my opinions which are objectively correct and absolutely can't be refuted with. So, some of you might be wondering, what is Dead Money? Why is the money dead? As mentioned, Dead Money is a DLC for Fallout New Vegas, set in the abandoned Sierra Madre Casino and its surrounding villa area. Retaking control of John Courier, you receive a strange radio transmission about some casino reopening that can apparently change lives.
Or stay in one of our exclusive executive suites that will shelter you and cater to your every whim. So if life's worries have weighed you down, if you need an escape from your troubles, or if you just need an opportunity to begin again, join us. Let go and leave the world behind at the Sierra Madre grand opening this October. We'll be waiting.
Realistically, this would be chalked off as a scam, but we're motherfucking John Courier. We can handle any petty scam, right?
That will shelter you and cater to your every whim. So if life's worries have weighed you down, if you need an escape from your troubles, or if you just need...
Either way, you're knocked unconscious and get dragged to the Sierra Madre, which looks a tad different than what was advertised. Looking up, you see a hologram of a lady. Totally a Ryan Gosling reference, by the way. But beyond that, another holo projection appears with a man. He says we have a bomb collar on our neck that will go off if we don't obey his orders. What are his orders? Gather a couple other trapped people to break into the Sierra Madre Casino. So this is just a GTA 5 heist. Anyway, this is where you're introduced to the three main gameplay gimmicks of the DLC. Number 1, gas. Number 2, speakers. And number 3, ghost people. Gas is pretty self-explanatory. See this hellish substance in the air? That ain't good. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere. Most important of all, it drains your health. Slow in normal areas if you're playing in hardcore mode, and quicker in thicker areas. Normally, regardless of hardcore or normal mode. If you conserve your healing items well enough, and don't stay in thicker areas for too long, it's mostly avoidable. Some areas can even be ventilated, further reducing the threat of the gas. So it's mostly not that big an issue. The second gimmick, however, is where shit gets real. Speakers. See, the villa had a lot of speakers and radios from way back when. A lot of them are actually corrupted, emitting jumbled pre-war recordings and static. Now, the issue is the frequency of them interferes with your bomb collar, which Elijah didn't predict and patch out. So, if you aren't careful, these radios may cause your collar to explode prematurely. This is where a significant portion of the criticisms against Dead Money comes from, that these speakers are too frustrating and annoying to navigate across. I beg to differ and think this is simply a minor case of serious skill issue. For one, the beeping for these speakers give you quite a decent time gap to simply run back. Second, most of these speakers can be avoided at ease or simply destroyed or turned off if you look close enough. It's not like they're super intricately hidden or anything. They're only an annoyance if you screw up and fumble around like a madman when you hear them. Now, for the third hurdle, ghost people. These are the primary boots on the ground enemies you encounter in Dead Money. Aesthetically, they have a really unique design, being covered head to toe in hazmat suits with glowy eyes that bleed yellowish gas-like substance when hurt. Gameplay-wise, what makes them unique is the fact that they can't normally be killed by simply dropping their health. Instead, they need to be decapitated to be fully put down. Meaning the best way when dealing with them is to focus fire on a singular body part, be it heads, legs or arms. Granted, this is a valid tactic for any enemy, but it's crucial for these guys in particular because of how they work with the decapitation thing. It's highly recommended that you take the Bloody Mess perk before doing this DLC because it increases the chances of enemies exploding and getting dismembered when killed. All in all, they're cool. If you go in with the right build, they're pretty easy. If not, well...
I can offer you a battle you have no chance of winning.
Also, their intelligence seems to be a tad higher than your average feral ghoul, seeing as they can lay traps as well and even lure you in with supply bundles.
Watch out if you see a prize lying around. The ghost people leave supplies as traps.
Which again can mostly be negated by the light steps perk, which lets you not set off traps anymore. Also, the ghost people seem to have developed some sort of godlike appreciation for the holograms and don't go into areas where they're on. Something that I'm not sure works, because even if you do turn on the holograms, which attack them, but it doesn't seem to bother them in any way. So it's mostly just a piece of lore than something you gotta keep track of. Now, while that's all fine and game, there's just one small issue. As we all know how immaculate and pristine the Gamebryo engine is that can perfectly handle anything thrown at it with ease and little technical issues, stealth is a bit janky in this DLC. See, stealth in New Vegas is calculated in two ways. Number one, the perception of an enemy, which for the ghost people is quite low, so there's no issue with that. And second, light. See, light in particular in the Sierra Madre is calculated a bit weird than the base game. Basically, even dimly lit areas that don't look bright enough are actually calculated to be extremely bright. So if you step into them, the ghost people will spot you no matter what. Meaning sneaking is either impossible or wildly inconsistent in this DLC. Meaning even if you're on the other side of Bumblefuck California, they will spot you and hunt you down. So if you went in with a stealth build hoping to Metal Gear Solid your way past them, you're fucked harder than Serena on an average modded Skyrim playthrough. So that kinda throws stealth out of the window, meaning your only options are to either fight them or run. Still, apart from that, almost every other build you come up with can be equally valid against them if used right, as the game gives you enough toys to play around with if you look around well enough and conserve your resources well. Speaking of toys, Dead Money does introduce a decent amount of nifty toys for you to play around with. For the American side of things, you've got newer additions like the police pistol, automatic rifle and hollow rifle, apart from some base weapons like the 9mm pistol, hunting shotgun. The police pistol is a revolver using 357 rounds with higher damage than the base game 357 revolver and has a bonus critical hit chance. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's decent enough for the current task at hand. And chances are it will become your standard gun for the first half of the DLC because ammo for it is quite plentiful. Then there's the automatic rifle. It's kinda mid. See, it does a decent amount of damage, but it has way too many downsides. For one, its fire rate is ridiculously slow for an automatic rifle, its max size is lower than my self-esteem, its spread is wider than fucking Hoover Dam, and it takes about a gazillion AP points in VATS for like 2 bursts at max. All in all, not a bad gun, but not really stand out either. Apart from those two, you've got the ecstatic, the benevolent, the ever so powerful hollow rifle, which when fully upgraded and fed some max charge rounds can tear through ghost people like paper. The only downside to it is that ammo for it is sparse early on, but relatively plentiful mid to end game, which is fair seeing how powerful the gun is. Now, those were the American ways. What about the British side of things? Again, there's some new additions like the cosmic knife, which can be superheated to melt things like butter. Other than that, there's knife spears and bear trap fists. They're good if you're a melee fan. There's also some limited explosives you can find as well, with some newer additions like the gas bombs. They suck. Not only are their damage way too low for an explosive, but they're supposed to do extended fire damage after they explode, but the ghost people are immune to that for some reason. Also, when the ghost people use them, you can't shoot them out of their hand like any other throwable explosive in the game.
Once I fired a lucky shot, hit a gas tank one was holding, blew his arm off at the shoulder, and he didn't get back up after that.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
0 out of 10. Apart from that, there's frag grenades, pretty much self-explanatory, and demolition charges, basically reskinned frag mines with a higher weight value. There's also a limited amount of C4s with detonators, and that's mostly it. Not a grand selection, but if conserved proper, enough to tickle your explosive build if that's your thing. So, there's plenty of toys to play around with. But what about everything around them? Well, there's these vending machines that are a major source of supplies that will help you in your journey. From food for survival runs and crafting, to stim packs and doctor's bags for normal usage, to ammo and upgrades for some of your weapons, to drugs, etc. Now, there's one drawback to them.
Money!
See, the Sierra Madre has its own currency called Sierra Madre chips. How creative. These can be used at the vending machines that can then produce anything by using the chips as raw materials. And as you might have guessed, these chips aren't just presented to you in silver plates. You gotta look for them. This is something this DLC vastly improves upon the base game. Exploration. Exploration is a key part of Dead Money. Not only does it help you become dummy rich, but also get your hands on some goodies outside the vending machines, be it stim packs or guns or ammo. Plus, some of these vending machine items are locked, which need to be unlocked with specific holotapes, which again are scattered around the map that need to be explored and found. Also, the vending machines can even accept cigarette boxes and pre-war clothing in return for chips, which again can be found scattered all across the map, further rewarding exploration. Even beyond normal gameplay, the map has tons of terminals or other reading materials scattered throughout that offer extensive lore on the day-to-day lives of the people who used to work there, as well as providing insight on the events that unfolded, leading up to the worldwide trolling incident and how everything went to shite. Probably the most prominent one being how the gas and the ghost people came to be, which further connects to lore from another DLC called Old World Blues. See, a lot of the tech you see in Dead Money actually came from a place called the Big Empty, a pre-war advanced research center. So in order to secure this tech, the head honcho of the casino, Frederick Sinclair, not only had to cough up some hefty dough, but also agreed to let the Big Empty use the casino villa as a testing ground for some of their other tech, most notably the gas. Issue is the villa's cheap ventilation system couldn't handle it, so another piece of tech had to be brought in, these dark light hazmat suits, which were supposed to protect the workers against the gas's toxic effects. Issue is, the suits themselves likely weren't built well or were just another experiment, because their locks started being corroded by the gas, which exposed them to the gas and locked them in the suit. So as you might have guessed, after the bombs dropped, the villa's ventilation system eventually failed, spewing gas all around the Sierra Madre, covering it up, trapping all the workers in their suits, and mutating them into what we see now, the ghost people. Apart from that, the terminals also give some insight on Sinclair himself as well as his new starlet, Vera Keys, the woman in the hologram you see at the Villa Fountain. Now, some of that is endgame lore, so we'll get into that in depth a bit later. For now, getting back to the story. So, your main task now is to gain 3 compatriots to break into the casino. And I suppose it's time we talk about the new companions. Dead Money introduces 3 new companions unique to the DLC itself. The first one being a schizophrenic split-personality Nightkin from the Master's army, named Dog/God, with each name attributing to 2 personalities he has. Dog being the primitive slave-like doofus with insatiable hunger, and God being the normal one with the voice of reason. Second being probably the most popular one from the DLC, a Brotherhood of Steel Knight sent by the Circle of Steel, a branch of the Brotherhood of Steel dealing with internal affairs, to eliminate Father Elijah, the man who's currently ordering everyone around for desertion and multiple other crimes. The issue is, she was trapped in an autodog that carved up her voice box and now she can't speak, meaning your entire form of communication with her are the subtitles explaining her sign language. Third being Dean Domino, a pre-war ghoul and the resident asshole who's pretty much responsible for half the stuff that went wrong and created this death trap. Just like the base game companions, all of them are really well written and perfectly complement the main theme and story of the DLC. Dog/God struggling to find his true self after battling with 2 separate personalities all his mutant life. Christine trying to let go of her mad desire to hunt down Elijah beyond her duty because of him separating her from Veronica. And Dean being an asinine prick. He has a major connection too, but we'll get into that a bit later when the plot thickens more. Either way, once you've gathered your squad, the main heist planning begins. The thing is, if you've been reading on the lore bits throughout the villa, you'll realize that Sinclair was a bit stingy on the financial side for every other part besides the main casino. Meaning the villa was constructed under less than acceptable parameters that would make OSHA overdose on Jet. As such, a lot of questionable decisions were made. See, there was this massive gala event which was supposed to open the doors of the casino and fill the villa streets with music, light, and the air with fireworks. Only the actual opening of the gates of the casino were tied to the gala event itself. So we gotta start the gala event to open the casino and get in, which needs your squad to be positioned at 3 different locations and turn some things on at the same time. This is where some major choices come into play that will have consequences with your companions later on. You did get some of these choices earlier when you meet them too, like how Dog/God needs to turn on a couple of switches, so you can either choose to let God take over and reason with him, or let Dog take over and basically force him to do it. Similarly, you can persuade Dean to be more trustful of you, or remind him that they're linked with the bomb callers and have no choice but to work together. All these choices will come into fruition later. I know I've been saying this a lot, that it will all make sense in the end, but just bear with me. After triggering the gala event, the casino finally lights up and opens its gates. And as they do, hordes of ghost people start showing up, attracted by all the noise and commotion. Thing is, by this point, I have become Rambo, firer of never-ending bullets. So not a single ghost person stands a chance. Heading to the casino and entering it, you find all your companions inside, lying unconscious on the floor, as something knocks you out too for a while. Waking up, Elijah contacts you again and tells you that you were knocked out by the casino's security system, and asks you to turn on the casino's power, which turns on the gambling holograms. If you've been scavenging pre-war money, you can turn them into chips or vice versa. Or if you've got 10 luck, you're in luck, because there's slot machines all around which are affected by luck, just like in the base game. This is where another enemy type is made a common threat: holograms. I didn't mention them before because you barely encounter them as enemies in the villa area. There's only one in the clinic where you rescue Christine, and that's it. All the others are friendly. In the casino, however, there's plenty of them. They have 3 modes: normal, warning in case they detect something, during which they turn yellow, and hostile, where they turn red and start blasting. As for how to deal with them, well, they can't be directly damaged with any weapon. Instead, they have these emitter thingies that can be disabled or destroyed, which turns them off. You can also use stealth and sneak past them. There's usually these terminals nearby that let you change their patrol patterns to get them away from any area that you want to get in. Plus, in most areas where they appear, there's usually a way to turn them off completely. So, if you're careful enough, there's plenty of ways to counter them and avoid getting shot by their beams. Once you're done gambling all your pain away, the second task comes at hand: dealing with your companions. See, their callers have certain frequencies that are interfering with the casino's systems, which are needed to access its vault. This is where your choices, as previously mentioned, come into play by providing you alternate ways to handle your companions. With Dog/God, for example, for starters, you can just kill him or merge both personalities together, which is the neutral choice and probably the best one, as both voices get equally merged, with the downside being that he'll forget about most of everything that led to this point. Or, based on your choice, if you've only used God all the time, you'll get an alternate option to let God take over forever and let Dog fade away, and vice versa. This one's relatively simple, but your choice does indeed add an additional outcome. The biggest change, however, comes in Dean. Depending on how you treat him throughout the DLC has a massive effect on his encounter. If you've insulted his ego or threatened him, he'll become hostile and try to get you killed. And unlike Dog/God, there's no neutral check. He will try to kill you no matter what. This is also where some major plot revelations happen. Apparently, Sinclair really loved Vera Keys. See this casino? He didn't build it for business. He built it as a gift and fortress to protect Vera and himself, hoping they can both ride out the inevitable nuclear apocalypse together. It's why he was so obsessed with security and making sure the casino is in top-notch condition, with hermetically sealed doors and everything. If that wasn't enough, there was even a vault underneath for them, which even had a voice lock unlocked by Vera's voice. There was one small issue, however. Sinclair loved Vera, but Vera didn't love Sinclair. Dean, he knew Sinclair before the war and was friends with him, but he grew jealous of him and his optimism despite suffering some big financial hits. It went to the point that he became adamant on taking everything he had to break him and to put him in his place. The key to his plan was Vera, an ex-lover of hers, asking Vera to toy with Sinclair's heart as he builds the casino so they could eventually break into his vault and steal everything. But Vera eventually grew cold feet out of guilt, and Dean started blackmailing her with certain indiscretions, most notably being her Medex and Super Stimpak addiction.
Play Sinclair's heartstrings. You just happened to be the one I caught. And it was really your own fault. A little too much into the chems and meds and... Oh, shh, don't cry.
little less dirty, a little less messy. He trusts you, Vera. And so do I. After this, I promise you, all those other holotapes, they'll go away.
Of course, Dean.
But his plan came to a halt because the bombs dropped before he could actually do anything. If that wasn't enough, he still hasn't let go of breaking into the vault. Remember Christine being trapped in that autodoc when you find her? Dean did that so the autodoc would carve her voice box to sound like Vera, so he could use her to open the vault. Dean, my man, I'm usually a good Samaritan and believe in forgiveness, but for you I can make an exception. As a crisp, overcooked man once said, we can't expect God to do all the work. Anyway, once he's dealt with, you can head to the executive suites where you find Christine, and again her interaction will change depending on how you treated her before. Like how she'll place traps all around the suites, making it hard for you to reach her, and her behavior will be much more hostile. Regardless, we get even more revelations here as to what happened the night the bombs dropped. The casino doors hermetically sealed, and the guests staying at the suites tried leaving, but were massacred by the hologram security, seeing them as intruders, as Vera Keys herself was trapped in her suite. Knowing there's no way out, she game-ended herself before scratching "let go" on the wall next to her, for environmental storytelling purposes. Her final words being recorded and repeated by the patrolling holograms on loop.
Sinclair, is that you? Sinclair? Sinclair, I'm trapped. Please. Oh God, the security systems won't let me out. They're keeping me here. I'm going to die here, amongst the ghosts. I'm still being recorded by the holographic system. Let go. Let go of what? I came so far to be here. Now I just want to leave. Please. Let me leave.
It seems she confessed her tomfoolery to Sinclair, but something happened and he never came back. Well, on the bright side, at least her cool dress survived 200 years fully intact. So, this is also where you find out that Vera's addiction of Medex and super stims weren't normal per se, but instead she was terminally ill, and those chems helped temporarily numb the pain she was suffering. That's where her addiction stemmed from, which Dean didn't know. I mean, you can tell him that, but he doesn't really care much, and his response is basically just shit happens. You also get some lore on Christine's side. Her carved up voice box has healed somewhat, allowing her to talk now, and just as Dean wanted, her new voice sounds just like Vera's voice.
Might be why I got moved off to this suite. It's hers. That's her over there. Got trapped by security like I did. Just took a different way out.
She's been chasing Elijah for quite a long time, even tracking him down to the Big Empty, where she was carved up and brain damaged, which is how she got all these scars on her head. But our fellow resident yapper, Ulysses, helped her. Knowing Elijah's crimes and evil plans, Christine pursued him all the way to the Madre to stop and kill him. Even beyond just that, she still hasn't let go of what Elijah did to her before all this. As previously mentioned, he was the one that advocated her to be separated from Veronica, who was mutually in love with her, as she mentions, being separated in the base game, unaware that it was Elijah who orchestrated the whole thing. So he could bring Veronica with him to the Mojave, sort of as his protege. This is also the area where you find some real good gear, including the mighty hunting shotgun, that pretty much turns the rest of the DLC into Doom. For the Birminghamian players, however, there's also schematics and materials to make the superheated version of the cosmic knife, if you've brought one with you. So both parties get something new to chew on. Apart from that, there's also the Sierra Madre reinforced armor, without a doubt the best light armor in the entire game, with over 23 DT when combined with the helmet. Mind you don't need to handle these three areas in the exact order I mentioned, so I'd recommend heading to the executive suites first to get stacked up on all this gear, because eventually a bunch of ghost people stumble in because they found another way in. Sure, they turned on fucking SV Cheats 1 and no-clipped in. Anyway, once everyone's dealt with, the final part begins. Vera's room had an elevator to the vault, which, as previously mentioned, unlocks with her voice. Well, you can collect 3 music samples and Vera's audition tape to play the phrase on the speaker next to the elevator leading to the vault. Or, if Christine's still there, she'll say the phrase herself, seeing how she sounds like Vera now. Once that's done, you go down to the vault. The main path is force fielded because, of course it is. So you have to go around the other way before you can turn off security that will disable the force fields. Reading up on the security lore, basically once you turn off security, the elevator will go up, which is fine. But after that, if you open Sinclair's terminal in the vault and check a specific entry, that will completely lock the elevator out and it will never come down. Even Vera's voice won't open it. Knowing this, you disable the security and start heading in. With security disabled, you can enter the main vault where you get the final piece of the puzzle. Sinclair had indeed originally intended for the vault and casino to protect himself and Vera, but he figured out Vera never loved him and was a part of Dean's plan to rob him. Knowing this, he switched construction to instead build the casino and vault to act as a trap for Vera and Dean. But as previously mentioned, sometime before the Great War, Vera broke down and confessed her wrongdoings. Sinclair, feeling he overreacted a bit too much, tried reversing some of the changes, but the vault had already finished construction by that point and it was built too well as a trap, so he could only do so much. He tried making one last check down at the pipes to try and jury-rig the trap out, but in case he couldn't, he left a warning to not access a file in his terminal named Sinclair's Personal Entries, originally meant for Dean, which will spring the trap and permanently seal the vault and the elevator. The holograms were meant to protect the main casino from any attackers, which is most likely why they massacred the other guests that tried leaving, seeing them as nothing more than intruders or attackers. Sinclair also activated the emergency beacon, which was supposed to broadcast an emergency message to let others know Vera was in the vault. Remember the radio talking about the Madre? Issue is, the emergency signal was previously used to advertise the casino to save some money. So because of a bug, instead of sending an emergency signal, it started broadcasting that advertisement instead. Sinclair himself met his fate nearby. You can find his remains on the pipes where he tried removing the vault strap. The area he died is filled with gas, so it's most likely a leak that caused his demise. His message never reached Vera and she never made it into the vault. A sad end for both sides. But again, on the bright side, the vault's full of some nice goodies like a shite ton of ammo, guns, armor, and most important of all, gold. 37 gold bars, ripe for the taking, amassing more than 350,000 caps if sold with high enough barter skill. Truly, the theme of this DLC was to actually let go of your poverty. Anyway, beyond the gold, if you pick the file Sinclair specifically said not to pick, you'll get a premature ending where you get stuck and die in the vault. I mean, what did you even expect? Once you finish reading the normal message meant for Vera, Elijah contacts you again. From here on, you get two choices. There's the comically evil choice, as in if your NCR reputation is low enough and you've talked to Veronica about Elijah, you can side with him and take over the Mojave with repurposed tech from the Madre and Elijah's help. Other than that, you get some checks that are all essentially about baiting Elijah to come down and check upon you. After that, you have three ways. Either you can simply leave before Elijah comes and backtrack all the way you came and then leave before Elijah figures out your trick. Or you can simply initiate combat and kill him before backtracking and leaving. Or if you really want to let go of your negative bank balance, you can hide near the vault and leave the way Elijah comes in. It has to be done just right, or Elijah will notice you and lock the entrance to the elevator, because he still has some control over the nearby security systems. If you've saved your companions, they'll try helping as well. Christine will try turning off the nearby turrets. Dean will try turning up some speakers, giving you more room to maneuver around without your collar exploding. Once you do leave through the elevator, the DLC finally ends. We did it. We saved the Madre. Taking one last look at the casino with the distorted nuclear sirens blaring in the distance, we have no other option but to leave, to let go. Except Christine, she chooses to stay and guard the Madre so no one can misuse it. Why not just destroy the place or at least all the harmful tech and get it over with? I have no idea. Something game was rigged from the start. Once that's done, you return to the Mojave and receive a final transmission from Elijah. If you locked him in the vault, begging you to let him out as no one sent the elevator down as you left.
The callers were a mistake. I see that now. Why would I kill you? After all you've done, after all we've done together. Are you listening to me? Everything down here, I swear, so much you could see. You could rule the wastes with what's down here. Make your own army, reshape the world, and if others disagree, put collars on them. I can show you how. Don't you leave me here. You can't do this to me.
Beyond that, the radio broadcast that lured you here in the first place starts playing one last farewell message.
Frederick Sinclair believed one's life could be made anew every day. That fortunes were more than the wealth in your hands. Love. Life. Family. Those to care for, and those who will care for you. To those who know these joys, the Sierra Madre holds little they don't already have. Out in the world, beyond these walls, that is your chance to begin again. I hope you'll return in happier times. Until then, the Sierra Madre and I will hold you in our hearts.
In the end, while the casino was primarily built for protecting Vera, it was indeed also meant to be a place of joy and hope, a place for people to let go of their burdens and begin again anew. Instead, it became a graveyard full of distorted whispers of old-world ghosts trapped in a hellish nightmare they'll never escape. But now, over 200 years later, it did somewhat achieve its goal as it let you, Christine, Doc/God, start anew, gain a different perspective and move on from their past. I mean, you can choose to ignore the message, but if you don't, the theme works. It may not be the way as was originally planned, but I'd like to believe the Sierra Madre did somewhat succeed in its intention of providing a way for people to begin again and let go. Though the DLC is a bit obtuse with its theme of letting go, because once you leave, you straight up can't go back anymore. Because apparently re-exploring the place but with proper gear and maybe checking back on Christine, who's all alone in the Madre, means you're obsessed and can't let go. Regardless, I think in the end the message wasn't give up and let go, but it was more know when to let go. Know when you're going too far and hurting yourself as well as others to reach your goals. Begin again and try something else. Change your priorities. And that was Dead Money, a remarkable DLC that, at least in my opinion, is often mistreated for not following the exact same gameplay loop as the base game. While its gameplay linearity may not be everyone's cup of tea, I disagree that it makes it bad. Linearity isn't inherently a bad thing if it's something different and offers a unique challenge compared to the base game. The speakers, conserving ammo and healing items, scavenging for supplies and weapons, the ghost people and their dismemberment tactic, it all adds to Dead Money's unique difficulty and lets it stand out in its own way. But it's not just gameplay. The writing in this DLC is some of the best, not just in the entire Fallout series, but out of most video game DLCs in general. The atmosphere here too is just as unique and completely unmatched by anything else, with the hellish visuals perfectly complemented by the amazing music, ambience, or just the general sound design of things, like the distorted grunts of the ghost people, the radio static and white noises, the nuke siren, etc. And, well, that's all I have to say about this amazing DLC. Well, since this video became way longer than I anticipated, I do have a small outro montage before I beg for likes and shares, so...
Every whim. So if life's worries have weighed you down, if you need an escape from your troubles, or if you just need an opportunity to begin again, join us. Let go and leave the world behind at the Sierra Madre grand opening this October. We'll be waiting.
Begin again? Some things you don't get up from. I was going to prove it.
Begin again in the night. Let's sway.
I am not sure you belong here. No, you don't belong here.
Your arm on my shoulder.
I'd sooner ask what makes me an undying son of a bitch than spend any thought as to why they crawl to life here.
This is a heist of the centuries. We're not plundering Sierra Madre. We're plundering history. came from the old world itself.
This big casino, this big colossal monument, think it was for some woman? No. All ego, all self-righteous and lights, fit him perfect.
Amongst the ghosts. I'm still being recorded by the holographic system. They sealed. I can hear the other guests screaming to be let out, to let go. Love makes people do strange things. Won't argue that.
Did you really think you could steal from me?
Thank you all for watching. Like, share and subscribe if you like my content. And as always, I'll see you again later. Bye.